Welcome back. Welcome to this 30-minute yoga practice with me, Tony. This is a gentle rest practice. So we're going to be on the floor the entire time. If you have a yoga mat, wonderful. If you don't, wonderful. You can practice on a blanket or a carpet if there's a section of a rug that you have. The only prop that you might want for this class is well, two things. If you have a yoga strap, you're welcome to grab it. If you need to hit pause and go get a yoga strap or a TheraBand. But also at the end, we're going to put our legs up at 90 degrees. You could use a wall, you could use a chair, you could use an article of living room furniture, or if you're in a classroom on break, a chair will work or the wall will work. So we're going to come onto our backs and start there. Just trying to find the right angle. There we go. Coming onto your back. You might draw the knees to the chest, gently rocking back and forth, massaging the low back for a moment, and then letting the feet touch down. Really noticing how that feels. So gentle rest. Sometimes there's an awful lot of information about rest and different kinds of rest. And sometimes we need sleep as long as that's restful. Sometimes it can be really helpful to be in the gravitational field, noticing that, feeling our breath. So let's just start by placing our hands on our bellies and taking a breath into your abdomen. And let it go. Blowing it all out. And then maybe let your hands come to your ribs. Taking a breath in and let it go. Feeling the ribs change their shape. And then finally bringing your hands over your sternum, up at the top of the chest. And breathe into your hands now. Feeling the upper region of the rib cage expand and contract. And then let's see if we can just take a long, slow breath in. You can release your hands down by your sides. Can you take a breath into the trunk, the whole of your trunk, from the waist to the side ribs, the back ribs, the upper chest, the armpits, and the upper back? So without straining, just noticing if you can breathe in and let that all feel bigger and broader. And then let it go. I'm going to invite you to do that one more time. And this time, if you haven't already, let your exhalation be longer than your in-breath. So say we'll count the breath in for 4, 2, 3, 4. Let it go for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I'm doing that one more time. Breathing in, breathing out. Let's go ahead and gently begin moving the head, taking a breath in with the head on straight. Gently turning the head as you breathe out. Breathing into center. Breathing out, turning the head to the left. You might begin to notice that we've blended the movements with the breath, breathing into center. This can be a really nice way to slow down, breathing out, turning the head to the right. Breathing into center, you're welcome to close your eyes, breathing in, Slowing down the exhalation is a chance to tell our central nervous system that we are safe, that it is okay to pause and be, to turn on the parasympathetic nervous system. I've turned my head to the left, saying all that, if you're keeping track. Coming back to center, I'm going to let the head pause here and just take a couple of breaths again. Breathing in through the nose, breathing out through the nose or across pursed lips if that feels better to you. A longer exhalation. Breathing in again. The whole trunk breathing, breathing out. Drawing the right foot towards the chest. Let's go ahead and hug that knee in towards the chest, giving the bones and tissues a little bit of feedback, feeling of being held, drawn towards you, and then release, letting that leg come down. Let's take it on the other side, bringing the left knee up, breathing in, breathing out, drawing the leg deeper towards you. Let's do it one more time each side. Putting that foot down, breathing in, breathing out. The right knee comes towards the chest. Before you hug it, let it have a breath into the whole of the trunk. And then on the out breath, draw the knee deeper into the chest. Breathing in, release. Breathing out, putting that foot down. Bringing the left knee up towards you. Breathing in before you pull or hug. Breathing out, the knee comes close. And breathing in. Breathing out, letting that foot come down. We're going to open the arms wide to a T, feet on the floor. I'm actually going to turn myself. You don't have to move, but I want you to be able to see this. So, with my arms open wide to a T, I'm going to start with the right hand. This is called a Feldenkrais. This is a Feldenkrais practice. If you're familiar with Moshe Feldenkrais, he was a movement educator of the 20th century and has some really interesting exercises, often working with gravity, often working with the breath, a lot of self-awareness building practices. So here what we're going to do is we're going to curl the fingertips on the right hand, into the palm of the hand. And then we're going to lift the back of the right hand. Then we're going to lift the wrist. That brings with it the forearm hinging at your elbow. Then we're going to lift the elbow, bringing the upper arm bone off the floor, and let it come to vertical and then across the midline. And as you cross the midline, you're going to let that arm unfurl and reach head and neck, turn, and it's like you're reaching for your left hand. And then from here is reach as far as you can with that shoulder, really making space, drawing that shoulder blade around the rib cage. You're going to let the shoulder blade then grow really heavy, and the whole arm comes sort of falling back with gravity to the floor. The shoulder comes down, the upper arm bone comes down, the elbow, the forearm, the wrist, the back of the hand, the fingertips. And then we'll take it on the left. The left fingertips curl in, the back of the hand leaves the floor, the wrist, the forearm, elbow hinge, elbow lifts. In case you hadn't noticed, those arm bones come with those joints, right? And then rolling across, reaching across. Fingertips are now reaching out for that left hand, wrapping the shoulder, eyes, head, neck have turned. And then, like a wave receding, letting that hand soften down with gravity, letting the shoulder pull the head and neck back to center, and the upper arm, elbow touch down, elbow, forearm, wrist, back of the hand, fingertips. We'll take it once more each side. Right fingertips roll in, back of the hand, wrist, forearm, elbow, hinge, upper arm bone. Releasing the arm, letting it wash up and across the midline, head and neck turn, reach. Shoulder grows so heavy, pulling you back. Head, neck, arm bone, upper arm bones, elbow, forearm, wrist, back of the hand, fingers, left fingers, curling in, back of the hands, wrist, forearm, elbow hinges, upper arm bone, shoulder, rolling the head and neck, reaching across, making space between the shoulder blades, rolling yourself wide, and then shoulder grows so heavy, head and neck roll back, upper arm bone, elbow, lower arm bones, wrist, palm, back of the hands, fingertips. And just taking a moment now, noticing if things feel rearranged. I feel like, oops, sorry, my head and neck got a little rearranged there. Maybe you need some self-adjustment like I did. But just taking a beat to feel the length and spread of the arms now. Noticing if there's softness. Doesn't have to be. It's just worth paying attention. What are the residual effects of that practice? And then I'm going to invite you to let yourselves roll over onto one side of the body, whichever you prefer, right or left, to come over onto hands and knees. And so we're going to come to hands and knees. I guess maybe I'll turn this way. I usually turn the other way, but it's nice to change it up. Coming to hands and knees, bringing the knees under your hips, hands under your shoulders, feeling a nice lift through the abdomen, letting the back body or the back spine rise up towards the ceiling, and then letting your hips sink back towards your heels. Maybe drawing the palms off the floor, maybe not. It might not be necessary. It might feel good to stretch the top of the hands. And then pulling yourself forward, back to table, rolling out. So let's do that again a couple of times. You are also welcome to tuck your toes under to give the ball of the foot a stretch here. I don't feel ready to do that yet, so I'm going to tuck my feet rest long. Right. Just letting the spine begin to flow, feeling the pull. Maybe this time I'll stretch the toes, reaching back. Maybe letting the arms reach further away from the hips. And this time we're going to pull forward and lower the whole body back down to the floor on the belly, letting the forehead rest on the back of your hands, letting the elbows release away from each other, letting the shoulders grow heavy. And notice if you can take some of that 360-degree breath we were doing on our backs. Can you do that here? Can you feel the whole body breathing into the back, side, and a little into the belly as well? I'm exaggerating by blowing the breath out across pursed lips, but feel free to practice that. Feel free to try that. Breathing in through the nose, breathing out. One more time, breathing in and breathing out. We're going to take a gentle back bend here, and I want you to feel free to modify this however works for you. I'm going to show a couple of different variations. I'm going to back up so you can see me. One is taking the head in your hands. I always think of this as being like watching the grass grow or fireflies in summer. It just feels like a kid shape from our childhood, lying belly down, talking, thinking, observing. And this can be a really nice place just to get a little bit of a back bend. And I'm soft through much of the body, right? The arms are holding, the gaze is out in front. You could also close the eyes, letting yourself feel the shape, any memories that come to mind. Conversely, if you have an interest in a more active practice here, Sphinx pose, using an out breath to reach back through the toes, to press down through the top of the thighs and hips, to press up onto the forearms with your elbows under your shoulders or maybe a little bit forward so that you have a broad back. Hands are active, pressing down, taking a breath in here. So this is a little bit more active. We're resisting gravity. We have some firmness to our shape. Muscles are active. We're a little deeper into the back bend, so it's also nice to have that activation of the abdominals, the press of the hips down, the reach back of the legs. And just taking whichever you've chosen. You could also choose to lay flat with your head resting on your hands as we began. For some, that may feel like a plenty big enough back bend. And then finally, let's go ahead and lower down with control, letting yourselves relax back, taking a breath in. Regardless of which back bend you chose, noticing the recovery, noticing what does it feel like to be in the body that is coming back from those poses. Is there a subtle feeling of letting go, of becoming heavier, of the gravitational pull drawing you toward the floor? Does it feel possible to yield toward the floor a little more deeply after pushing away? Good, and then we're going to come on to our backs again. So if you like being down here rolling around, you might roll onto one side and then center yourself again. Once more, taking knees to chest, gently rocking back and forth, massaging the low back. And this time we'll let the left foot come down, keeping the right leg up. This is the point in the class where if you have a TheraBand or a yoga strap and you wanted to put it over the sole of your foot, you'd be welcome to. And I'm just letting the thigh drop back towards gravitational pull here. And I'm not really doing much else, just feeling gravity pulling that leg down. If you have very tight back of the legs, you might want to put a little bend in your knee, right? And you might even want to, sorry, I've cut my foot off, but for the sake of time, I'm going to just keep going. You know what a foot looks like. So pulling down, pushing up if you like. If you've taken a class with me before and we've done this, you might know that eversion and inversion. So pressing the outside blade of the foot, I'm going to try and cheat that a little bit so you can see, and then the inside blade outside blade pushing up towards the ceiling, inside blade pushing towards the ceiling. Just noticing if that's interesting to you. Doesn't have to be. And then we're going to bring, either you've got the strap, you want to pass it into your right hand and you're going to hold on to the strap with the elbow down, or bring the right elbow down, left hand to the hip, and let that right leg open out. And remember, this is about letting this leg relax in the hip socket. It's not about getting the leg to the floor. So I find it's really helpful to remind my body to stay firm on the left side, bringing the left hand to the left hip and breathing. Bringing that leg up to center, taking it across the midline, 15, 20 degrees. Let the right arm open. Let the left hand either take both sides of the strap or catch the weight of the thigh. And your choice, you might play with eversion and inversion again here. You might let the leg beneath the left hip come down to let the right leg come down. Maybe continuing to support with the elbow, maybe letting the foot come all the way to the floor. And then maybe if it feels skillful, turning your gaze to look to the right. And a breath. And then coming back up to center. Let's change sides. Left foot comes up, right foot settles down into the floor, holding on to the back of the thigh if you like, articulating that ankle if you like. Just noticing your breath, noticing sensations in the body, checking in with your mind, what has happened as you've been practicing. How about your breath now? Were those long exhalations helpful? Might you begin using that again here? I'm opening out to the side, right hand to the hip, keeping neutral, left hand supporting the leg or the straps, breathing in and out. Coming up to center, switching the strap or catching the thigh with the opposite arm, letting the left arm open, right arm supports the thigh. Maybe pressing that outer blade, inner blade of the foot away, just feeling into this. Maybe you've got your eyes closed. You're watching your breath. You're thinking this might be a nice practice to do before sleep, or just as a resting practice, a way to cultivate rest in your body. And letting the leg go further if you choose, letting that gaze fall in the opposite direction. And then bringing that leg back up, coming back to center, drawing the knees to the chest. For the last minute or so, I'm going to invite you to bring your legs up onto a piece of furniture, whether that's a couch, maybe you have a hassock. If you're in a classroom on a break, it might be a chair. Hopefully you've had a cozy floor. Turn that around. Actually, I'm going to show you another additional thing. So if you were doing this at home with your legs up over, they could be up a bed, over a bed, chair. The other nice thing to do then is to bring a weighted blanket over the abdomen while your legs are, excuse me, are up at 90 degrees. This can be particularly nice for folks who suffer from low back discomfort. Hopefully you notice that once you get your legs up in the air, You kind of want them at 90 degrees, so mine were a little far away. It drops the pelvis, but you may find it's like a subtle variation. Again, self-research. Letting the low back have some length here without getting pulled, right? So you may have to adjust, let your spine move away, lift the hips, lower them down. Find that comfortable place where the low back above the hip bones, so the lumbar curve, gets to lengthen and gets to be really passive and supported. And then letting the eyes close, and we'll take 3 quiet breaths here. Letting the out breath be longer than the in breath. Feeling gravitational pull, feeling the breath come into the fullness of your trunk. If you are able to remain here for continued minutes, or maybe just continued breaths, please feel free to, by all means, take advantage if you have the time. Thank you for joining me for this gentle rest yoga practice, filling your cup so you can fill the cups of others. I look forward to seeing you again soon. Thank you for being with me.